It was a cold, rainy evening, and Mark, a hard-working single dad, was struggling to make it home after a long day at work. Balancing bills, parenting, and endless responsibilities had left him exhausted. But he never thought twice about helping someone in need. As he walked past a dark alley, he noticed a man struggling with a heavy box, looking completely overwhelmed. Without hesitation, Mark rushed over, ready to lend a hand. Little did he know, this small act of kindness was about to turn his world upside down. The man looked ordinary at first, just another stranger, trying to make it through a tough day. But there was something different about him, a quiet confidence in his voice and a hint of urgency in his eyes. As Mark lifted the box and offered a few friendly words, he had no idea that this encounter was anything but ordinary. He had no clue that the person he was helping wasn't just a man in a hurry, but a CEO whose next move could completely change Mark's life and the future of his little family. In that brief moment, neither of them knew how this random meeting would spark a chain of events filled with surprises, life-changing opportunities, and challenges that would test Mark in ways he never imagined. Every parent dreams of a chance to give their child a better life, but sometimes, that chance comes from the most unexpected places. What Mark didn't know as he walked away that night was that his simple act of kindness had just opened the door to something far bigger than he could ever imagine, and it was only the beginning. Mark couldn't stop thinking about the man as he drove home, the rain still pattering against his windshield. There was something unusual about him, not just the urgency, but the way he carried himself, as if every step mattered and every decision had weight. Mark, used to keeping his head down and focusing on work and parenting, felt a strange mix of curiosity and unease. Who was this stranger, and why did helping him feel so different from any ordinary good deed? At home, his young daughter Lily ran to greet him, her tiny arms wrapping around his legs. Moments like this reminded Mark why he pushed through exhaustion every day. Bills, deadlines, schoolwork, and endless chores always made life feel heavy. But this little hug brought him back to what truly mattered. Still, his mind wandered to the man in the alley. Why did he seem so familiar, even though they had just met? And why did he insist on thanking Mark in a way that made him feel important? Meanwhile, across the city, the man was making calls in his sleek office, his mind buzzing with strategy and decisions that affected thousands. He didn't know it yet, but Mark's small gesture had caught his attention for reasons that went far beyond simple gratitude. There was an opportunity he had been waiting for, a chance to find someone dependable, someone with heart, and fate had just nudged him in Mark's direction. As the night settled in, Mark tried to shake off the encounter, but deep down, a feeling lingered, a sense that life as he knew it was about to shift in ways he couldn't yet predict. Something big was coming, and neither of them was ready for it. The next morning, Mark woke up to the usual chaos of breakfast, spilled cereal, and Lily asking him a million questions before school. Yet even in the familiar noise, he couldn't shake the memory of the stranger. At work, his mind wandered as he handled routine tasks. His focus split between spreadsheets and that mysterious man's hurried demeanor. Something about the encounter made him feel like he had glimpsed a doorway to a life far beyond his current struggles, a life he had only dreamed of for Lily. Across town, the CEO, named Daniel, replayed the alley scene in his mind. He wasn't used to being noticed in public, much less helped by a stranger who didn't know who he was. Most people assumed he was untouchable, unreachable, or too busy for ordinary human connections. But there was something about Mark's sincerity, his exhaustion layered with resilience, that made Daniel pause. He realized he might have found someone rare, a person whose values aligned with his own, someone who could rise to challenges without losing their humanity. Meanwhile, Mark's everyday life continued to pull him in every direction. Bills piled up, his car needed repairs, and Lily's school projects demanded attention. But beneath the surface, attention grew. Could this fleeting encounter with a stranger really mean something bigger? Could it change the course of his life? Or was it just wishful thinking? Unbeknownst to Mark, Daniel was already taking steps behind the scenes, making quiet calls, shifting schedules, planning a move that would inevitably intersect with Mark's world again. The paths were set, but neither man fully understood the impact that a simple act of kindness would have. The clock was ticking, and soon, both would face choices that could alter their futures forever. Days passed, but the memory of that rainy evening haunted Mark more than he expected. Every time he picked up Lily from school, or walked home from work, he scanned the streets, half expecting to see the stranger again. At the same time, his daily struggles were becoming heavier. The rent was overdue, his old car broke down, and the mounting pressure to provide for Lily left him restless at night. Yet, a quiet sense of anticipation lingered, a feeling that something important was about to happen, even if he couldn't see it yet. Daniel, on the other hand, was moving quietly but decisively. His office hummed with activity, yet he spent hours thinking about Mark, reviewing small details from their encounter, considering how a man with so little could hold so much integrity. There were plans being drawn, meetings scheduled, and decisions that could shake both of their worlds. But Daniel knew timing was critical. He couldn't reveal everything just yet. He needed Mark to be ready, even if Mark didn't realize it. Then came the day that changed everything. Mark was rushing home from work when he received a strange call. an invitation to meet someone for an opportunity that sounded too good to be true. At the same time, Daniel was preparing for a high-stakes business move that required trust, loyalty, and courage, the very qualities he had glimpsed in Mark. Both men were stepping closer to a collision, course neither could fully control. Mark felt a mixture of hope and fear, unsure whether this was fate or just another cruel twist of life. Daniel, confident but cautious, was ready to test the waters. And as the evening drew near, attention filled the air. One small choice, one brief meeting, could change everything. The moment of truth was coming, and neither of them would leave unchanged. Mark's heart pounded as he stepped into the small, nondescript cafe where the call had directed him. He scanned the room, half expecting just another stranger or a simple misunderstanding. But then he saw him, Daniel, the same man from the rainy alley, sitting confidently at a corner table with a briefcase that radiated authority. Mark froze for a moment, uncertainty mixing with curiosity. How could this man, so polished and powerful, remember him or even care after a fleeting encounter? Before Mark could approach, his phone buzzed again. A message popped up from an unknown number. *, be careful. Not everyone here is who they seem. His stomach twisted. Was this a prank or a warning? Mark glanced around nervously, noticing for the first time a man watching him from across the cafe. Daniel noticed it too, his eyes narrowing slightly, but he didn't move. The tension between them thickened, and for the first time, Mark realized that what he thought would be a simple meeting might be far more complicated and dangerous than he had imagined. Daniel, meanwhile, sensed the shift immediately. The quiet, calculated world he controlled was showing cracks. Someone, an unknown force within his corporate circle, was trying to disrupt the plan he had set in motion to help Mark. It was a twist he hadn't anticipated, and it forced him to make split-second decisions while keeping Mark unaware of the hidden danger. As Mark cautiously approached, questions raced through his mind. Who could he trust? Why was this stranger, now revealed as a powerful CEO, choosing him? And what did that mysterious warning mean for the opportunity Daniel had hinted at? The stakes had suddenly grown higher than either of them could have predicted, and one wrong move could unravel everything. The collision of worlds was imminent, and the clock was ticking faster than ever. Mark's hands trembled as he finally reached Daniel's table. The air between them was thick with tension, and the hum of the cafe seemed to fade into silence. Daniel looked up, his expression calm but sharp, as if he had been expecting this moment for a long time. "Mark," he said quietly, "you helped me that night without knowing who I was. That act told me everything I needed to know. I need someone I can trust, someone who won't be swayed by money or power." "That's you." Mark blinked, trying to process the words. It felt surreal, like a dream slipping into reality. Before he could respond, Daniel slid a folder across the table. Inside were documents offering Mark a partnership in a new venture, a chance to provide for Lily in ways he had never imagined. The conflict that had haunted him, struggling to make ends meet, constantly juggling responsibilities, was suddenly within reach of resolution. But just as relief washed over him, a sharp buzz from his phone broke the moment. Another message flashed on the screen. *, you're making a mistake. Trust no one, especially him. Mark froze. Daniel noticed the change in his demeanor and leaned forward. "I can explain," he said. But before he could, the man from the cafe's corner, clearly the one who had sent the warning, stood and approached. The room seemed to shrink, tension crackling as the true stakes began.